Welcome back to the Daily Dope Show. I'm your host, Brando, the Weed Commando. Sorry about the shakiness. So looks like we legalized marijuana in Michigan. Oh boy. So is it time to celebrate? Time to jump for joy? You know, go out in the streets and smoke it up. Welcome all those weed tourists with open arms like it's the new Amsterdam. Not really. I mean, I'm not going to be one of these party blowers that just all out tell you, hey, don't go out there and celebrate yet because there's regulations that need to be worked out. No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's a lot of work to do. This legalization shit is garbage, like it always is everywhere. And I'm not the first one to say it. I'm not really the biggest fan of it. I've been talking about it the whole time. I've given this whole thing tepid, support and tepid endorsement on this channel. Not anything like I'm not all in or whatever. I had some skepticism when I interviewed Colin McDougall from the campaign, and he was from My Legalize. Now, when things were back in the My Legalize days, I was a little more open to what was going on with it. But the spirit of the My Legalize original language was kind of compromised and all that shit. So whatever, I'm going to put all that aside and really be happy about what's going on and celebrate and go out and dance in the streets and smoke weed like I always do. Because this isn't really nothing new to me. But at the same time, I feel like the cops, it's such a big culture shock to a lot of the police that they're just going to, try to do whatever they can to still make people know that, hey, we're involved in this marijuana bullshit. But, as you're going to find out, no, they're not really involved that much. And I'm not happy about any involvement that they think they still have. So let's start out with that. This is from a friend of mine, Gia, over at Gia's World on Twitter. And now that we've legalized recreational marijuana, it's time to work on decriminalizing marijuana ASAP. Just saying, free my people, stop locking my people up for nonviolent offenses. Okay, back to rest I go. And this is somebody that lives in Flint, and she just graduated from college. And yeah, Gia's an awesome fighter for a lot of things. Go give her some love on her Twitter page if you can, or if you would like to. And she also has a YouTube channel, The Truth Be Told 92. Check that out if you got time. I'll put links in the description for all that. Meanwhile, who else has something to say about this? Well, we have a not this guy, but we we have John Sinclair's statement kind of before it happened. But I mean, everybody kind of knew that it was going to happen. And when you go back here and look at when I called it, it was like 8:29 p.m. and people had already called it like a couple minutes before me, and I didn't really realize that because I was kind of looking at other things, and I was like, you know what, fuck this, let's call this shit. And I called it. And actually, I was talking about calling it at about 8 o'clock. And by the time I actually was like, no, I'm going to do this because there's no reason why. It's not like the place. I looked at what hadn't been counted yet, and I'm like, there's no way they're going to flip this, dude. There's 100,000 plus votes ahead. It's not going to happen. So I called it, and we called it before. We called this 20 years ago, man. It just took us this long to get there. And this is where this interview was at. It was in the MMM report, which is a medical marijuana news and info rag that comes out in Michigan. And this is the interview with John Sinclair. Interview conducted with John Sinclair at a rehab center in Detroit. John was recovering from a fall on October 10th. I wasn't aware of that either until I read this today, and it made me sad that I didn't know this. Um, and he was unable to finish his monthly column, which he writes for this publication. So Jeremy Payton, Kira Horner, and myself, Ben Horner, made a visit to make sure the column continued uninterrupted after 7 years in the MMM report. So the question is, that's on everybody's mind, is how do you feel about Prop 1? Let me zoom this in a little bit if I can. How does John Sinclair, the guy that got arrested for 2 joints and charged with 10 years and did 2.5 years of that, how does he feel about it? He's the guy that got this whole legalization thing rolling, after Nixon, just a little bit before that, got the whole war on marijuana, drug war style going. So how does he feel about Prop 1? Answer, I don't like it very much, but I hope it passes because it's a step forward. It's a flim-flam. I felt like these guys came in on a white horse, so they were going to make up for the incompetence of my legal eyes. But as soon as they handed it into the petitions, they changed the name to regulate marijuana like alcohol. That cheesed me off. That's the last thing in the world I want. The clear line you draw from marijuana and alcohol, the closer you are to the truth. Marijuana has nothing to do with alcohol. The other thing is the MMP was corrupt and pussy grabbing, and now they have no money to finish the campaign. This is just my personal belief, and the guy that started legalization in Michigan, my thoughts carry a certain weight. And just in case you didn't know about how long John Sinclair was working on legalizing cannabis, anyway, even before he got arrested, he was an activist since January 1965 when I started LEMAR. I got a flyer in the mail from Edward Sanders and Allen Ginsberg in New York. It said, "Legalize marijuana, LEMAR." So I thought, what a great idea. So I started the Detroit chapter. I typed up a flyer and ran off some flyers on the mammographic machine. We held the first meeting of LEMAR in Detroit. We had no organization. We had no idea what we were doing, but it was a great idea. And then NORML grew out of an organization called Amorphia. Blair Newman and my dear friend Dr. Michael Aldrich, aka Dr. Dope. Aldrich got his PhD from New York University and started the first marijuana publication. Somehow he stumbled on the Detroit Artist Workshop and me. Blair Newman knew how to organize shit, and the two of them from Amorphia, and their slogan was "Free legal marijuana in your backyard." Their brilliance and downfall were all in the same bag because they wanted to create marijuana-oriented product which they could sell to finance and the political struggle to legalize. They formed Acapulco Gold Rolling Papers. Aldrich and me were tight. They organized the first California legalization initiative, and I was invited out to speak. It was then that I met Keith Stroop, and he was starting NORML, which we thought was square because who wants to be normal? Amorphia had it in their minds to develop a hemp paper, so they spent about 3 years working in Spain, which they only people developing rolling papers at the time. Well, by the time they had, all the money was gone. The first shipment came in hundreds of boxes of papers to a bonded warehouse in San Francisco. They couldn't get them out because they had no money, so they went down and turned everything over to Keith Stroop and NORML. From there, I got with Keith and barnstormed around California, Arizona, New Mexico, speaking and advocating. In those days, this was really far out because nobody did this. The only other person doing this sort of thing, Ginsberg, Aldrich, Sanders, and me, was a lawyer in California. He developed a legal brief that became a guiding document for me and many others. The flyer I got from Ginsberg was the beginning. It was a demonstration in New York. What about Canada? It makes me feel good because in those days, Canada was like 50 years behind. You know, Canada barred me from entry into their country because of a marijuana conviction. Sorry about the hack job on this editing. I don't know what happened here with the editing of this interview, but I've been stumbling through it the whole time. I apologize. I'm just trying to read what's here and at the same time interpret what I know it really is supposed to say, and sometimes I'm getting quite caught up in that. But anyway, let's go back here. He said, I hate Canada. In 1974, we made the terrific mistake of responding to the city of Ann Arbor banning the Ann Arbor Blues and Jazz Fest after 2 years. We got an offer from Sinclair College in Windsor to do it there, and like idiots, we accepted. That ended that period of the organization because of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I was banned from my own concert. They were walking out into the crowd and into the amphitheater arresting people. The RCMP were backstage harassing B.B. King, Cecil Taylor, and the rest of the artists. And that's basically all he's got to say about that. And here's a picture of him. And I ran into John a couple years ago at the Cannabis Cup, which is just a little bit like right around the corner from my house in Clio, and he's getting old, man, and I hope the best for him. This is him in the hospital right here holding up a Yes on Prop 1 sign after his fall, and I just hope the best for him, for his health and all that. And yeah, once again, his idea was that, in summary, that when the coalition was formed, and I felt like that too. I made a video right when it happened. Like right before it happened, My Legalize was about to fire off their second campaign in a row. And the language was up for debate. It was up, they were asking people on the internet. They gave people a month to put in their 2 cents on it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, before we got to see what the results of that was, very much, the coalition formed, took over, pushed their ballot initiative, and it seemed like it was just an automatic pilot, and the signatures were gathered, no problem, in the time allotted, churned in, certified, boom, on the ballot. So, and you look at the language, and it looks a lot like the shady, underhanded, lobbyist, written and guided, medical marijuana licensing of Facilities Act that was passed by the state in 2016, that was written by lobbyists. And what it ends up happening is the people that got licenses in that corrupt scam of a system are going to be the first people in line to get these new licenses. And now caregivers are also in line to get licenses too, so there's that. When it comes, if you're a caregiver and you're like, man, fuck this, I want to go commercial, you can do it if you've been a caregiver for more than 2 years. So yeah, it's a little bit of a corporate takeover, but they do throw some roadblocks at the corporate takeover, just not as many as My Legalize. And we all just wish we could make it so the caregivers had a path to the marketplace, don't we? Ain't that what we all really want? So more talk about this, about what happened in the wake of this passing. And the first thing we're going to focus on is the myriad of this kind of shit that I've been seeing today. And I just want to re-emphasize a point that I made back when there was when I made when they were doing the commercials on TV, and I did a review, I did a critique of their commercials, if you remember. And my critique of the commercials was basically that they're garbage. They didn't have a single good talking point. And there is good talking points out there to be anti-legalization of marijuana, I think. Not that I believe them or think that they're really that valid, but they are better than the talking points that that Healthy and Productive Michigan was running. And those talking points were just total fucking garbage, guys. Let's just emphasize that one more time. So let's see what the police have to say about it. Don't toke yet. steps remain for legal marijuana consumption in Michigan. No, it doesn't. There's no more steps that remain. None. Not a single step. If you want to smoke a joint, you can. Now, there's already provisions in the bill that say that local municipalities can regulate public consumption. It's not in the bill itself that there's rules set up for public consumption, but it says that municipalities have it in their purview to set up rules for public consumption. So basically, the law says, yes, public consumption is allowed. Just make your rules, move on with it. And that's going to be a problem because a lot of people are going to get caught up and they're going to be like, you know what, you didn't make rules yet. So what up? And the big deal is that municipalities can opt out of certain things of this, and that's only the commercial aspects of it. They can't opt out of you growing 12 plants at your house. They can't say that no one in my town can smoke marijuana or drive around town with the 2.5 ounces that you're allowed to have, or the 10 ounces in your house. If they find it in your house that you have 10 ounces of weed, you're cool. No municipality can say that this law doesn't apply here. The only thing they can do is say that no licensed marijuana facilities are allowed in there. And that's bullshit. And we'll get to that in a minute. As a matter of fact, we'll probably just do a whole video on it when the time comes. So here we have a sheriff from Saginaw County, which is the county that is right. I mean, I literally live a mile from the county line. Okay. He says, you know, we're going to read the whole article just straight through. Here we go. And this is by Winnie Dortch. I don't know who that is. We're talking 12 News, ABC. Even though voters approved legalizing recreational marijuana in Michigan on Tuesday, that doesn't mean people can start smoking. It doesn't. People have been smoking weed in Michigan since the beginning of time. All of a sudden, we're going to stop smoking weed and wait until you tell us to? Are you serious? You know what, guys? Let me just reiterate. Let me just do a quick synopsis of what just happened. You guys had 81 fucking years of prohibition of marijuana to tell us that we can't smoke weed. 81 years of that shit. You had like 48 fucking years of Nixonian, you know, kick the door in with guns in your face shit. Ugh. It's over. It's done. That shit's fucking done. We can smoke fucking weed in your face. And we will. Believe me. We're not going to get arrested for it. You're not going to arrest somebody for having weed in their pocket. You're not going to search their fucking car because of weed. It's in the fucking bill. You can't search someone because they smell like weed. Alright, I'm not going to go fucking on no freak out tangent shit here because I'm just going to read through this as much as I can and try to keep my composure. Because I've about had it fucking up to here with prohibitionists. I'm done with you guys. You guys are such petty little little kids with this continuing desire to play cops and robbers with weed people. Weed people just want to be left the fuck alone, man. You got no reason to fuck with us. We are not harming anybody. We're keeping ourselves to our own. We don't bother nobody. Nobody that's ever smoked weed ever bothered anybody. The Michigan legislature still has to establish perimeters for using marijuana while still abiding by the verbiage including in the ballot for Proposal 1. Bullshit, it's all in there. It's like I said, municipalities, it's up to them to decide how they're going to talk about public smoking, allowance. That process could take several weeks or months. Then police and prosecutors have to be educated on the new law and how it will affect their work. Quote, we are going to do everything we can to make sure that we understand the parameters of the proposal and what it means now that it will become law, and we will stay within the framework of that. Saginaw County Sheriff Bill Federspiel said, the ballot language restricts recreational marijuana use to people aged 21 and older. All right, now that's the very first one that why I was for complete abrogation of these laws against marijuana. Because the first thing about legalizing marijuana for people 21 and up is that people younger than 21 happen to smoke marijuana. Gee, I wonder why. Probably because it's not even, that big of a deal, especially if you're 18 and up. And I don't really care about, how people feel about it. So the fact is whether you don't think that people that are under 18 or 18 to 21 should smoke weed or not, that's beside the point. The real point is the one that Timothy Locke from Abrogate of the 2015, 16, and 17 era, that guy there, his answer is the best one I've ever heard. He's like, do you want it to be up to you, the parent, or the cops when your kid gets caught with weed at school or wherever he's at and he's not 21 or he's not 18? Do you want that to be the police officers that catch your kid and have to deal with it with laws that say that possession can give you, as far as I know, if you're under 21, the protections in this thing don't apply to you anymore. So all of a sudden, you can get, in trouble. And I'm still unsure as to exactly what that means. But I'm pretty sure that none of it means felonies and misdemeanors. So I still don't understand why the cops are so interested in all this shit. But the bottom line is yeah, that's one thing. You have to be 21. But there is provisions in the law that say what you can get charged with if you're under 21. So there is more for the police to look at than just, oh, you ain't 21, so boom, there goes the protections, you can get a felony. But the fact is do we really want that? Does anybody want somebody that's under 21 to get a fucking ticket for weed and go to jail and have a record? That's what we fucking passed this shit in the first place for, is to avoid all that. Who do you think was getting those tickets and going to rehab and jail and shit? Not people over 21, I'm pretty sure. They just go to jail. Or just pay the fine, or whatever it was. Anyway, they can consume edibles or marijuana and grow up to 12 plants for personal consumption. Anybody would be limited to a 10-ounce limit of marijuana kept in their residence, with the requirement that more than 2.5 ounces be locked in a secured container. Which is just another thing. It's like, come on. Do you tell people to do that with any other thing that's of value? That's another thing. They keep acting like marijuana is this thing that is of value, that thieves and robbers are more interested in breaking into your house to steal, as opposed to someone that just might have a safe with thousands in it, or jewelry box full of thousands. And there's so many things that are in people's houses that you can just steal real easy. When you're talking about stealing marijuana, that's a pretty hard thing to do, and it's not that big of, it's not really going to help you anyway if you steal somebody's marijuana that ain't in a safe. 10-ounce limit, how much are you really going to get there? So all the overabundance of caution is written into the law, and it's already established. Like, we don't have to worry about you guys nitpicking it. It's not going to help you find more things to do with your police, day. We don't want you involved. That's most of the reason why we legalize marijuana, is to free you up so you can do real shit instead of fucking harass people for weed. Do you fucking harass people for alcohol? No. You harass people that are drunk all the time because, because they're fucked up and they're doing dumb shit. The state also will be required to establish a licensing system for marijuana-based businesses. Marijuana could be sold commercially, subject to a 10% partially going towards schools and road maintenance. So this 10% that everybody's yelling about, oh, that's crazy. It's like, it's not the biggest, it's not the highest one in the country, man. And I don't know. There's other things that play into the regulations that I think are going to make the prices of weed go higher than the tax. So I wouldn't put like a whole lot of freaking out about the 10% tax there. But as with any tax, it's like, hey, every time I turn around, these people that push this idea of taxing weed, it's like they got this whole book full of shit that weed tax is supposed to pay for. And you know that book of shit that weed tax is supposed to pay for? It looks an awful lot like the book of taxes that billionaires and rich corporate fuckers that don't pay corporate taxes don't want to pay for. Like schools and roads and bridges and pension funds and fucking you name it. Shore up police budgets. How much more shoring up do we need to do with police budgets anyway? I mean, come on, man. Several current laws setting marijuana use and possession as felonies or misdemeanors would be reduced to civil infractions. And you know, I'm against this too, because that is saying that, you know, so let's just take, for example, too much weed. You got more than your fucking 10 ounces of weed. Oh boy. You got 20 ounces. Holy shit. Now, according to the guy from My Legalize that I interviewed, that extra 10 ounces, they just take that shit. Like, oh, thank you, we're going to take that. And then they give you one of these civil infractions. What the fuck for? Why are you taking my property? I paid for that shit. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. You know? And let's just compare that to fucking alcohol. I can go buy me a fucking box truck tomorrow, all right? And I can go to the liquor store, and I can clean them out of liquor. I can buy all the 75% alcohol liquor they got in the store, and then go to the next store and buy them out. Until my box truck is full of 75% pure alcohol liquor that's flammable, explosive, highly toxic. That's enough liquor to kill a whole high school of kids to overdose on alcohol. And that's just fine. I can drive that across town all day long. I can pull that shit right up into a school and pick up my niece from school. I could drive that shit to a church. I can drive that shit to the police station and go in there and pay my ticket, get my fix-it. I can go in there and I have a fix-it ticket for my box truck. You know, the hinge in the box door was broken. The door was flopping up and down, and the cops pulled me over, gave me a fix-it ticket. I could take that fucking box truck in there, and they can examine that shit. And then when they open it up and look in there, and they're like, holy fuck, you got like, you know, 500 bottles of Everclear and Bacardi 151 in here. What the fuck, dude? And I'd be like, I don't know. Just, you know, just feel like driving around town with it. That's all. And they'd be like, okay, cool. Shut the door, make sure the lock works, and cross my ticket off. Have a nice day. What the fuck is this shit where if you get caught with too much weed, they give you a fucking slap on the hand and take your weed? This is ridiculous, in my opinion. I never liked this part of it. I was always like, well, at least I guess we're not going to prison. And that's what it comes down to. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody fucking gets caught with too many plants or too much weed, they're not going to prison. So that's a good thing. That's a damn good thing. It makes everybody sleep better at night. But will the cops fucking obey that? Or are they just going to do this dumbass shit where they kick the fucking door in, take everything, give you a fucking ticket, take you to jail, see the judge on Monday? Is this, you know, do we really even know this yet? So we don't know. We'll figure it out. While not a supporter of legal marijuana, Federspiel is not bitter about the change coming to the state. I guess you don't have to be a supporter, but I guess a better question is where do you really stand on it? Because at this point in history, being a supporter of legal marijuana means a whole lot of different shit. Especially if you're a fucking sheriff, you know. It could mean your livelihood when you look at the dockets in Saginaw County and see how many people are on deck to go to court for fucking weed charges. So, of course, he's not a fan. He's a fucking sheriff in a county that puts people in jail for weed on a daily. you know, we're trying to get rid of this 23,000 arrests a year shit. In Saginaw County, you're one of the places where that shit is happening, and we're done with it. Anyway, he says he's not disappointed. He's not happy. I'm just ready to get to work and keep people safe, he said. You know what was dangerous is when fucking cops kick your door in, or when the cop smells weed and they reach for their gun. That shit's dangerous. This policing of marijuana has been very fucking dangerous for communities of color in Michigan for the last 40 plus years. And we really personally really don't care how you guys feel about this. The people on the marijuana side of the fence. I mean, I'm not the kind of person to go in the end zone and do a fucking dance in your face and shit, so I'm not going to do that. But I am going to say that this is like absurd that you guys are just still dreaming of fucking putting the handcuffs on somebody when you catch them with some weed. Or if you smell the weed in their car, all of a sudden you want to take away that Fourth Amendment right. And just put them in the back of your car and fucking search their car? Maybe you want to do a full body cavity search. You know, it's disgusting, the civil rights abuses that happened over marijuana over the last who knows how long. But at the minimum 48 years of Nixonian shit. And then we can run that all the way back to, you know, when marijuana was made illegal in the first place. It's 81 years ago. So I'm not disappointed either. The law is not perfect, but I am not disappointed that you guys are not going to be as involved as you think you are. He said some law enforcement officials were against this proposal because he said this does come with a heavy price for them based on comments from their counterparts in other states with legal marijuana. Quote, talking to law enforcement officers in Colorado, we learned of some of the issues that they were experiencing. I know that some sheriffs had some personal experiences with legalization of marijuana in other states that had visited. One prosecutor mentioned that an increase of reported crimes could go up, which could lead to more court cases. Nathan Collison, an assistant prosecuting attorney in Saginaw County, expects to see incidents of marijuana theft increase. No, you know what? Here's the thing. When I got robbed, I didn't even call the cops. Because you guys come and you fuck with the people at the house. You don't even care about the crooks. Oh, we're going to rob you, and then we're going to come later when you call us and fucking rob you again and throw you in jail. So nobody bothers calling the cops when they get robbed for weed, and they're not going to after this. So keep dreaming, man. We don't care. We can protect our own houses. The bottom line is you guys don't protect anybody anyway. You're too busy busting people for weed. So while somebody's out there cruising around the neighborhoods looking for a house to rob, whether it's for weed or jewels or TVs or whatever the fuck, safe full of money. I mean, most people that rob people around here steal fucking, you know, small engine yard machinery out of people's garages, golf clubs and shit. This is like, there isn't nothing like this even going on, man. Marijuana theft. It happens. I know it happens. We see it happen all the time. It happened to me. But everybody gets robbed, man. You know how you fix that? It's not about whether marijuana is legal or illegal. You fix that by making the economy better so everybody ain't fucking robbing each other. How do you make the economy better? Well, you stop these marijuana corporate takeovers and you give the people the economy and let them be the fucking producers and manufacturers and distributors of this wonderful substance that we all have known all along was medicine. And now you guys are acting like it's freak out time because it's legal. And that's just not the case, man. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. I can tell you that for every Colorado cop that tells you that they don't like legalization, there's 300 or more that love it. because they don't have to worry about writing tickets and dicking around with people that smoke weed all day. There's real shit happening. Go figure. Anyway, good luck with that, guys. And we got more. I mean, this is going on. We're going to go for a while on this because why not? Where are we at here? Shit, we're at... Anyway, what we have here is... and this is just ridiculous. Amy Bellocini, I seen a tweet from her earlier, and I was just like, are you kidding me? I wish I had the tweet handy. Don't I? No. But anyway, this was just so absurd. I couldn't believe it. So here's Greenlee, and I think this Abu Edwards, I think that's that guy that did the rap video for the opposition group. They were called Healthy and Productive Michigan. Remember those dumbasses? I mean, what did they say on their Facebook page? Go over to their Facebook page and slowly... I don't know. It's just a bunch of garbage. So they didn't make no official announcement. But I mean, this is about as official as it gets. Marijuana opposition campaign vows to continue fight. And if you didn't notice, there's Scott Greenlee. This is this like just total dipshit. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and call him a name. Fuck you, Scott Greenlee. And I've been tweeting about this all day. The time for decorum has been gone. It's been over for years. People have been getting locked up for marijuana. 23,000 people a year in Michigan getting put in jail for fucking weed. And you're trying to prevent the thing that would stop that from getting passed by the voters of this country? No, go away. You are scumbags. You lost. You don't belong in this conversation. No one's listening to you. It's impossible for you to slow down any part of this process, you dumb motherfucking piece of shit. No more decorum. No more pleasantries. You're out, Kevin. Go away. Here's Kevin Sabat back here. Sabbat, whatever the fuck his name is. He's got no business being in Michigan anyway. Who cares about you, Kevin? Absolutely nobody cared about you. So thank you, Amy. I hope you didn't mean I was throwing salt at you if you happen to see this. So the opposition campaign to the recreational marijuana ballot proposal lost their battle in Michigan Tuesday, but they vowed to continue the fight. Really? What fight? There's no fight. You guys are done. Everything in the bill that we just passed is now law, and it has a timetable on it. And in 1 year from now, they're going to be doling out fucking licenses for pot shops or whatever dumb name you call them. So quit calling them dumb names and realize that you can't stop or slow down none of this shit. And I'm pretty sure you're just trying to act like this because you still have money in your coffers because of all the bullshit. You know, we had Myers, we had freaking Dow Chemical, and all these big name people and all these religious people and all these other groups that put in on the anti-marijuana effort had nowhere to put that money except for right on you guys. And that's why Sam came around and they were really excited once all that money, they smelled that money and they're like, oh yeah, that money smells good. And they brought this guy out of the fucking corner of the nowhere and who knows why, just to make up a stupid rap about how smoking weed is like alcohol somehow. And that's what all these guys always have. They always have to fucking compare weed to alcohol. And that's another reason why, you know, you go back to John Sinclair, it's like when they convolute this shit with alcohol, it's fucking muddies up the conversation, man. And you get dickheads like this come in and they're like, oh yeah, man, you see how bad booze has wrecked my community. Well, marijuana's going to do the same. No, it's not. No, it's not. Kevin Spot says, we're not done in Michigan. We're not done with Michigan, said Kevin Sabat, president of Smart Approaches Marijuana, the national group backing the opposition campaign in Michigan. You're done, dude. Take the fucking extra money and go take a vacation forever. Go away. But he does say that we're going to make sure it's a long road to pot shops. I just told you the road is 1 year from now they'll start opening them. And by the way, pot shops are opening up every day for the medical marijuana. And them people are the same people that are going to be opening up. They're just going to be the same store. They're just going to get their fucking recreational license and they'll be good. I mean, I'm not for the way this licensing scheme is set up. And I got my friend on Facebook telling me the inside dope on the people that are really like helping make things happen and the corruption behind shit that I didn't even know about. And it's all good, guys. Guess what? I really don't give a fuck about any of this bullshit. I just want to be able to do what I do without anybody fucking with me. And if Kevin Sabat thinks he's going to fuck with the people that want to get licenses, or if the licenses people think that they're going to do some kind of thing where they're going to fuck with people like me, it's not going to happen, everybody. We can all live in the same fucking place. Except for Kevin. You got to fucking go. Alright? You're done here. You're just spinning your tires. You're wasting money and time. You're a fucking idiot. You want to hang out in Michigan? Come and fucking debate me, you fucking idiot. You don't want to fuck with me. You block me on Twitter because you can't stand my factual information and just the way I beat the shit out of your browbeating and absurd. And you got like an army of idiots that... Whatever. Michigan voters passed Proposal 1 with 56% of the vote. That's a fucking blowout. It's a landslide. That's a mandate. Go away. We get to make the rules, not you. Not, and I'm sure the lobbyists will make them, so whatever. I've never been guided in thinking on that one. I know that this is just the spirit of my Legalize was to try to make this as a grassroots as possible, but that still had Democratic control behind it and still was a giveaway to certain people that were definitely going to be guaranteed to get licenses. And, whatever, man. And then this coalition thing came along and they're like, well, we'll try to keep some of those roadblocks in place. But overall, this corporate takeover thing's going to come, man. It's going to happen. And when I say takeover, I mean most of the supply in Michigan is probably supplied by all the people that have been growing weed in Michigan since long before any of these fucking idiot groups popped up and decided that they were going to try to legalize marijuana. All right? I'm not somebody that ever was one of those people. And I know the people involved in all the major groups that were involved. I know people in Normal. I know people in the coalition. I know people in My Legalize. I know other people that have done things that don't have any names and wasn't part of those groups. And I know that the guy from Abrogate, and I know somebody else that wants to do another Abrogate, only not with a political, extremist one way or the other, right or left wing bullshit. That's another thing, guys. When you're out there trying to legalize marijuana and you're fully democratic or fully libertarian, it's fucking cringy. It makes me cringe. All right? I'm not a fucking partisan hack person. I don't believe in being oh yeah, the Democrats or oh, the libertarians. That's the right way of thinking. All of it's fucking garbage. All of it's a box that you put yourself in. A little box that you put yourself in, and then you can't think outside of it, or you look like an idiot for going against your, designated whatever the fuck you're calling yourself. Get over that way of thinking. We got to move forward with real shit that we can do to make this shit better. And that's called the fight ahead. And it doesn't involve having to keep fighting these idiots. So when I see this article, like I just said, these guys are done. They're just spinning their tires and making noise because they have money that they have to account for. And what better thing to do than pretend like you're slowing down the licenses? But little do you, everybody knows that the fucking licenses are going to get doled out 1 year from now. It's in the bill. It's in the fucking language of the proposal. All you got to do is read it. Greenlee's talking about people opting out, and we've heard people opting out already. Oh, we're going to opt out. We're going to ban marijuana in our town. Like I said, you can ban whatever the fuck you want, except for you can't arrest people for weed. And they can grow 12 plants in their house. They can have 10 ounces in their harvest, 2.5 walking around town. It's right here. 10 days after the results of this election are certified, Prop 1 will take effect. 10 days after the certification. And it's not like there's this window of time. Like, okay, there's 10 days after the certification. Prop 1, then people 21 and over will be able to consume marijuana at home and possess 2.5 ounces walking around town. Do you think that somebody's going to get a ticket between now and then for any of that shit? Because if it happens, that shit's going to get bounced right the fuck out of court. You know why? Because of this. We're going to fucking bounce that shit right the fuck out. All right? We're not going the other way, guys. We're not even going the way it was yesterday. It's done. 56 to whatever, 37 or whatever it was. Oh, yeah, that didn't have that. But anyway, I'm the voice of the people that won this shit right now. I'm the only one I hear on YouTube talking about it, or fucking, they're not interviewing. The people on TV aren't going to fucking be like saying the shit I'm saying, because they're the ones that, you know, they're in line for the money. The people that put the most money into this are going to get the most money out of it, you know. Now, the comments on this are golden. I'm not going to read them, but I read through them earlier, and it was just, you know, it was fun. It was definitely fun. And there is people that, you know, they're like, yo, God forbid they actually follow the mandate of the people. Let's fucking like that one, because that's what it is. And Sabat's just a total fucking idiot. Again, with his ignorant talk about bullshit. And here's some of it. Let's listen to this. He says, he said that the legislature could act to pass caps on potency or to limit pesticides used in marijuana grows. Look, man, I'm all for the limitation of pesticides and chemical fertilizers and all that shit. Everybody in marijuana is. The only people that aren't are these ignorant commercial takeover fuckers that think that they're going to get away with that shit. But that's why we have testing labs. And the testing labs have specific shit that you're not supposed to have in it. And if you look at the Michigan medical marijuana regulations, that's some of the strictest shit I've seen in my life. No FDA regulation says that any food has to be that tested and tight. So get the fuck out of my state, Kevin Sabat. You don't know a goddamn thing about what the fuck's going on around here. But what's this bullshit about potency caps? These are the idiots that are going around talking about, you know, how medibles are 99% THC. Are you kidding me? What in the fuck is wrong with you guys? I mean, you can't even be that stupid. There's just no way that you can be that dumb. And he goes on to say, I think most of us don't want our doctors high. I think most of us don't want our kids' bus drivers high. And that's where this goes from being an individual liberty decision to a decision that affects non-users, Sabat said. Well, you know, the problem with that, Sabat, is you don't get to fucking really make that individual decision, right? That's what we're deciding right now, is to let individuals make that decision on their own. So if you're that doctor and you want to get high, then that's your decision. Now, you're sitting here acting like that everybody has this knowledge of fact that marijuana makes it so a doctor that gets high is going to do something bad or damaging. Are you fucking kidding, Kevin? They drug test doctors every day. And when they do, they don't let marijuana slide. They drug test doctors. I don't know about every day, but doctors get drug tested for insurance purposes, I'm sure. They get drug tested probably just as rigorously as anybody else. The insurance companies really care, or the place that they work for really don't want to get sued for malpractice. And guess what? Despite all that precaution, doctors get high, I'm sure, and they don't fuck up. And also, doctors that don't get high are doing all kinds of fuck ups and leaving tools inside people after they do surgery and shit. Like, you can just look into it, man. It's not like doctors aren't already doing all kinds of crazy shit I think people are more concerned about doctors that are up too long, working fucking triple shifts and shit like that. Now, bus drivers, you still are leaning on this whole theory that driving while high is somehow the same thing as drunk driving. Kevin, no one believes that. No one ever has. And it's just fucking getting ridiculous that you think you can still push that bullshit. He also says, we do think that this fight is not over. We will be exploring all legal and all policy options. Man, you sound like you sound like the voice of the cops that are feeling like they're losing their jobs more than that cop did. I just want you to go the fuck away, Kevin. And guess what? We also elected some Democrats who made some kind of campaign promisey type talk. We had Dana Nessel, who is now the Attorney General, and she was talking about automatic expungements when I went to see her at a rally in Flint. Governor-elect Gretchen Whitmer has indicated she will consider expunging marijuana-related criminal records for conduct that was now being legalized under Michigan's Proposal 1, she said Wednesday. I don't think that's far enough. I'm not down with that. I want it to go all the way. I don't want anybody that got charged with any marijuana crime to ever have to worry about not being able to go to college or getting a job or having any kind of a criminal record. All the felonies need to get dismissed. Whole cloth. Misdemeanors, of course. Anything else, of course. How is there a felony for marijuana? If it's not violent, it's got to go. If there wasn't no gunshots fired or knives stuck in anyone and a marijuana charge hanging out with it. And, you always hear these people, people aren't in jail for marijuana. That's the one they drop. No, that's the one someone goes there and robs a liquor store and they have a bag of weed on them. The fucking armed robbery gets dropped and they keep the weed because the sentence is longer and they know they'll stick. That's a fucking fact, man. So we need to get rid of this shit. We need to expunge all of it. All this talk about, if it's legal now, you shouldn't be in jail. Yeah, that's what I was saying yesterday before it was legal. Now that it's legal, you shouldn't fucking worry about having, like, my friend, who got busted not too long ago. He had grown a bunch of plants that would be beyond the limit of this new law. He's looking at felonies that could get him 10 years in prison. I want that to go away. My other friend who was running a dispensary and they kicked the fucking door in before they even started looking at licenses or even talking about a licensing scheme. And, he was looking at 10 years or more. Ended up taking a plea. So I want all those things to go away. He still has that shit he's got to deal with. He's still got that shit on his record. Why can't that just all go away? Why does it have to be, now that it's legal? Well, what he was doing isn't covered under the new law. Unless he had a license, there'd be like a whole different, like, he would have to do like some kind of Superman legal team shit. So I don't think this goes far enough just saying that, if it's legal now, we're going to consider expunging it. She's going to take a look at marijuana crimes early next year. Quote, the people of Michigan had said that the conduct would now be considered legal. No one should bear a lifelong record for that conduct. Michigan voters approved Michigan Proposal 1 to legalize recreational marijuana and regulate it like alcohol. And part of the measure decriminalizes some marijuana-related infractions. Whitmer, who defeated Republican Bill Schuette on Tuesday night, gamering about 53% of the vote with 97% of the precincts. She took some time to address reporters and outline a few plans to answer the question. So I don't know if any more of this has to do with weed here. Yeah, I don't think it does. So anyway, there you have that. That's pretty much what I expected to see is like some instant lip service towards that end. And that's all I got. That's all I got on this, guys. That's all I got.